The Galactic Coalition was a beacon of peace, an interconnected network of thousands of advanced species working together in harmony. These civilizations had long evolved beyond violence, crafting a utopia where intellect reigned supreme and physical resilience was unnecessary. This fragile balance persisted, in part, because of a shared agreement: never involve Deathworlders. Death worlds were planets so hostile that life should not thrive there. Yet, against all odds, life did, and it produced beings so adaptable, so unrelentingly stubborn, that they defied every natural law. Of these planets, Earth was infamous, a Category 10 death world whose apex species was the human race. Their evolutionary history read like a galactic horror story, battling predators, diseases, natural disasters, and even each other. In the Coalition, humans were a whispered legend. Few had met one, but their reputation preceded them: cunning, relentless, unpredictable. Officially, the Coalition tolerated humans, but unofficially, they were feared. Earth's inclusion in the Coalition was seen as a precaution: keep your enemies close. Captain Reid Carter was the embodiment of everything they feared. A former soldier with a sharp mind and a mischievous streak, he was now a freelance mercenary, hired for missions deemed too dangerous or complex for the average alien. He thrived on challenges, his reputation as a Deathworlder earning him both grudging respect and wary distance from his peers. Having just completed a grueling mission on the frontier, Carter found himself aboard the sprawling Galactic Coalition station, a marvel of engineering and diplomacy. For the first time in months, he had no assignment, no enemies to face, and no immediate threats. He was, to his mild annoyance, bored. Boredom, for humans, was a peculiar state. For most species, it was a signal to rest or meditate. For humans, it was a catalyst for creativity, a spark that ignited invention, exploration, and, if left unchecked, chaos. Carter wandered the station's immaculate corridors, observing the pristine order that the Coalition prided itself on. Everything was efficient, sterile, and mind-numbingly predictable. He found himself in a storage bay filled with confiscated technology from various worlds. The Coalition deemed much of it too dangerous to release, locking it away under the pretense of research. Carter saw it differently: a playground. One device caught his eye: a sleek, palm-sized gadget humming with latent energy. Its interface was indecipherable, but that hardly mattered. Humans had a knack for figuring things out. Within an hour, Carter had deduced its function: molecular manipulation on a small scale. The possibilities were endless. He started small, using the device to alter the texture of a metal panel, making it uncomfortably sticky. Satisfied with his success, he moved on, experimenting with gravity fields and energy pulses. What began as idle tinkering soon evolved into intricate engineering. As Carter worked, he mused to himself, "They call me dangerous. Let's see if they're right." The station remained oblivious to the storm brewing in its quietest corner, where a bored Deathworlder was on the verge of turning the universe's peace into his personal sandbox. The first sign that Carter had gone too far was the sudden activation of the station's security measures. Doors began locking at random intervals, patrol drones buzzed through corridors in synchronized sweeps, and announcements in a dozen alien languages warned all personnel to report suspicious activity. Carter stayed calm, blending into the crowd as he moved toward a quieter part of the station. The Coalition's response was amusing at first, paranoia driven by minor disturbances, but he knew it wouldn't take long for them to get serious. A few hours later, his name popped up in a private broadcast. Carter had hacked into the station's communication network out of curiosity, and now he saw his own face on the security watch list. The Coalition suspected a Deathworlder, and since he was the only human on board, their focus had narrowed quickly. He sighed, leaning back in his chair. "Figures they'd figure it out eventually," he muttered, though part of him was impressed it had taken this long. The game had changed. This wasn't about harmless fun anymore. Carter realized he needed to clear his name, or risk being labeled a terrorist. Unfortunately, the Coalition's definition of explaining likely involved a containment cell and hours of interrogation. He would have to find another way. Carter started dismantling the molecular manipulator, carefully removing the modifications he'd made. He couldn't let the device fall into the Coalition's hands. Its potential for misuse was too great. While he worked, alarms blared, signaling that security forces were narrowing in on his location. The station's artificial intelligence had likely pieced together his movements through surveillance data. He had minutes at best before they found him. When the first patrol arrived, Carter was ready. He'd rigged a series of decoys using harmless applications of the manipulator. One led them into a room where objects floated in zero gravity, the sight causing them to freeze in confusion. Another activated a harmless shockwave that sent tools clattering to the floor in a maintenance bay. Each distraction bought him precious time to stay one step ahead. The station's inhabitants, already on edge, reacted with predictable chaos. Carter navigated the crowds with ease, using their panic as cover. He avoided direct confrontation, knowing that harming anyone would only cement the Coalition's view of him as a threat. Instead, he relied on tactics learned in his military days: misdirection, speed, and careful planning. As he moved toward the lower levels of the station, Carter reflected on the situation. The Coalition had underestimated him, not because of arrogance, but because they didn't understand humanity. They saw humans as dangerous because of their resilience and aggression. What they didn't realize was that a Deathworlder's true strength lay in their adaptability. Give a human a problem, and they'd find a solution, no matter how unconventional. By the time Carter reached an abandoned section of the station, he had a plan. He would force the Coalition to see the truth, that humans weren't a threat unless provoked, and that their greatest weapon wasn't violence, it was ingenuity.